What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we are talking about all of the free agency slash recent trades that have gone down in the NFL. So we're going to start with like Geno Smith, which was March 7th, and we're going to quickly go through the last few days and get to more of the bigger moves just in the last, hours really, especially though the last 24 hours. A lot of things to go over, also a lot of things to still hypothesize about Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, that kind of stuff. But just jump right into it. Make sure to subscribe down below if you guys are new to the channel. It is always NFL content. I like to rank players and teams and then talk about stuff like this. Try and predict teams' records every year, mock drafts, new change to the two teams as far as like transactions like this and what it can mean moving forward. Just that kind of stuff. I know uploads recently have been very inconsistent. We're now back to the portion of the offseason where a lot of things are happening, so it's easier for me to actually do videos on things, so expect those to come out more frequently once again. But to jump right into it though, with Geno Smith, so he was traded from the Seattle Seahawks to the Raiders for a third-round pick. I was very, very surprised by this, but I like the move a lot for the Raiders. You bring in Pete Carroll for head coach. Apparently, the original offer, Seattle offered both Geno Smith and DK Metcalf at the time for Max Crosby, and the Raiders said no, which was probably the right move there, but you can't blame Seattle for trying. I guess from there, the talks kind of shifted and eventually landed on Geno Smith for a third. I like this a lot for the Raiders, though, honestly. I'm not really a fan of any of the quarterbacks in this draft, especially being taken as high as a top 5 pick. So for the Raiders to be able to have a bridge quarterback like Geno Smith while they still kind of get some other pieces to build around, I like that a lot for them, honestly. And then, of course, for Seattle, we'll talk about that side whenever we get further into the video, when obviously we see who they sign as quarterback. Moving along, though, Myles Garrett. So this is a big one because it seemed a lot like he was out of there. He was very firm on not wanting to be there anymore, and Cleveland was very firm on, no, we're not letting you go. I got to say, though, I was surprised. I thought there would be some kind of big trade going on for him to get out of there, but eventually he does stay. $123.5 million in guaranteed money. I would stay and go 4-15, or not 4-15, but you get what I mean. I would lose at least 10 games a year for that money too, so can't blame him. Seriously though, jokes aside, Browns retain their best player and one of the best overall players in the entire NFL. Myles Garrett gets money that at least makes him happy being able to stay where he's at. So I guess both sides are content in the end. Minnesota re-signed Aaron Jones. I actually like this a lot because Aaron Jones is a very good player, and I think he was quite good last year for them. I was not sure how this was going to go, but I like this a lot. So good value signing, nice piece for the Vikings. They were pretty active, or I guess they still are pretty active so far, free agency, and this was one of their pieces they re-signed. I was a fan of this. After that, Davante Adams signing a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Rams. That was pretty surprising to me. I gotta say, I thought Adams wouldn't go until it was clear on where Rodgers was going. I guess either he feels as though Rodgers is retiring, or wherever Rodgers might be going, just not the place for him. I like this a lot for LA, though. You're getting rid of Cooper Kupp. Davante Adams still has a lot of, okay, I won't say a lot. He has good football left in him. Whether there's a steep decline all of a sudden, I don't know, but he is still a great player. And you have Puka, Matthew Stafford, Kyren Williams, Tyler Higbee. I like this a lot. Great signing here. Good for Davante Adams. After that was the Metcalf trade, and this did really surprise me. Not really for him to be traded, but for the money. So first off, the Steelers are sending a second-round draft pick to the Seahawks, and they're flipping picks in the 6th and 7th rounds. And they also gave Metcalf a new contract of $150 million for 5 years. I gotta say, I think Metcalf is a great player, very physical, very fast for his size. True wide receiver number 1. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for Metcalf, who I will say hasn't always had the best quarterback play because Russell Wilson the last couple of years in Seattle wasn't great. Geno Smith, while very, very solid, I think he's honestly great. He has his moments, but it's like, do you really think the new quarterback in Pittsburgh, whoever that is going to be much better? Because if it's just Russ, then it's like we already saw Metcalf and Russ. And to be honest, it's solid, but $150 million in 5 years. I don't know. They wanted him. They got him. We'll see how that ages. And then for Carolina, they re-signed J.C. Horn to a 4-year, $100 million extension. I do like this a lot, to be honest, because J.C. Horn's a great player. He just is never able to stay healthy. So if he continues to get banged up, this is going to look awful. But if Horn can stay healthy, I do think he's a top 5 corner in the NFL. And maybe that's me being biased, or you guys think that. But seriously, watching this guy's tape, he's really, really good, very physical, great in man coverage. I think he is potentially worth that money. Whether or not he lives up to that based on his health, I don't know. But if he is at his full health, and he's playing, I think this contract is very fair. Getting into some of the fun stuff, though. So after that, Tampa Bay re-signing Chris Godwin. I like this a lot. Chris Godwin, great receiver. Buccaneers have been a very fun team to watch the past couple of years. I'm glad they brought Mayfield in there, who's really thriving. You still have Mike Evans, re-signed Chris Godwin. He drafted Bucky Irving, Jalen McMillan last year. Both great young players, so this is a nice, not addition, but it's nice to retain him. Next, the Giants reached an agreement with the former Saints cornerback Paulson Adebo, or Adebo, I can't remember how you say it, which looks really bad because I'm about to now praise him. But I think he is honestly one of the more underrated corners in the entire NFL. This guy's very, very solid, and honestly, if you look at his PFF stats, he's like above average in pretty much every category for coverage. He's either at average or higher than it. And the Giants need this. The Giants need a leader in the secondary, especially at corner. You have Deontay Banks, and you have Drew Phillips. You have guys like that have that potential, but not really a proven guy quite yet, at least in my opinion. So I like this a lot for them. Honestly, I wasn't really sure where he was going to go, but the Giants, I'm glad they got him. One of my favorite moves so far, Lions are working to finalize a deal with the Jets free agent cornerback DJ Reed. I think DJ Reed is awesome. I think he was a great quarterback number 2 in New York with Sauce Gardner. I think he can really thrive in whatever role they want him in there in, I almost said Dallas. They're in Detroit. Now, again, it's going to be a little questionable because Aaron Glenn, their defensive coordinator, is now gone as the head coach of the Jets. So it's like, is their defense going to regress? What's it going to look like? Is it going to be just as good? Is it going to be different but still good? Like, what's it going to look like? I'm going to kind of have to just form that opinion as the offseason goes on and more players either brought in or whatever. But overall, I think the Lions defense is still going to be very good. I think it's impossible not to at least have some decline or at least look different losing a coordinator as good as Aaron Glenn. But when you're making moves like this and you're trying to get depth at pieces you need there, I got to respect it. And DJ Reed is a great player. It's a very good signing. One of my favorites, one of my favorite defensive signings, I will say, in the first couple days. And then this was a big one. So the former Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold reached an agreement today on a 3-year, $110.5 million contract, including $55 million guaranteed with the Seattle Seahawks. So it's weird because you'd see this and you'd think, wow, he's going to have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And no, because it's a completely new look Seahawks offense. You have Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith-Njigba as the new quarterback and wide receiver 1 duo. And I think this really depends on what Seattle does with their offensive line, because from how I understand, at least, I think Geno Smith is very, very good at picking up a blitz and avoiding pressure. And Seattle's offensive line, not that great. So he had to kind of do that a whole lot. Sam Darnold is not near as good at that as Geno Smith. So if Seattle does not address their issues on the offensive line, this is not going to go how they think it's going to go. I think you're going to see a very scattered and pressured Sam Darnold forcing the ball where the ball should not be going. However, if you do address the offensive line and Sam Darnold continues to play how he did for all of last season except for the last 2 games, you're getting, I think, a very good quarterback who's still very young. He's younger than Joe Burrow. So I do think this is a good signing. You have a great young receiver. I would expect them to sign at least someone else. Someone I kind of wanted them to sign would have been like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine from the Titans. He's a very underrated player who's not very expensive, but the Dolphins just signed him to like a $6 million deal, so there goes that idea. But still, I think Darnold is able to thrive, but it's going to start and end with what happens to the Seattle offensive line. So again, I like this, but it's yet to be seen for me how excited I'm going to be. We'll check back in June and see how we're feeling with what changes are made after, free agency and the draft and all that kind of stuff. But again, big news there. And then the next one. So Justin Fields reached agreement on a 2-year, $40 million deal that includes $30 million guaranteed with the Jets. This one is just so weird to me. So Justin Fields, obviously in Chicago, had some great moments, but unfortunately those moments didn't quite outweigh the bad, and it looked like you could potentially stick it out with him, but then first overall pick, thanks to Carolina, you can't pass on Caleb Williams. Just kind of the way it went there for Fields. Then last year in Pittsburgh, Fields was honestly pretty good until Russell Wilson got put in, who was, in my opinion, still better than Fields. I think Fields struggles with reading defenses still. I think he has these huge explosive plays where you're like, man, Fields can really play, and he can, but not very consistently, and especially not against high-pressure defenses that make him very uncomfortable because he panics, relies on his legs too much. runs around and gets sacked, or runs around and takes, just not what he's supposed to get as far as, throwing the ball 4 yards when he could have just thrown it away. Or that was a bad example, I'm not going to lie. But Fields gets panicked, so again, it's a worry. Going to New York, though, Aaron Glenn is a new head coach, so I guess he really sees something here he likes. Or, once again, it's just not a great year for young quarterbacks. You're kind of confident just getting him, building the rest of this team up. Yeah, in my opinion, you can finish a year out with Justin Fields and still be somewhat competitive. So I don't mind this at all. And then there's always a chance he takes a huge leap, and then you don't have to worry about quarterback the following year. So, again, there's definitely upside here. One cool thing, he does get to play with his college wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. Now they're reunited, so that's very cool. This could be a very fun offense. I mean, Justin Fields and Breece Hall and Braylon Allen is a pretty nice backfield. Garrett Wilson's a great player, obviously, as well. Devontae Adams is gone. But again, there's potential here. But I have to see more from Fields as far as just actually playing quarterback and not relying too much on his athleticism. After that, Josh Sweat and the Cardinals reached agreement on a 4-year deal worth $76.4 million, including $41 million guaranteed. This was very nice for them because the Cardinals had essentially no edge rush. You watching this video right now, you were basically edge rushing last year for the Cardinals, so congratulations. They really needed this. Josh Sweat, great player, some nice depth for them. They still need depth there, honestly, but I do like the signing a lot. So there's that. And then this, which was much less expected, I guess, than Josh Sweat. I feel like for Sweat, it was like, yeah, he's probably going to Arizona. This was out of nowhere, and the Texans are trading 5-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle Laremy Tunsil to the Washington Commanders for a package of picks. The best one being a second. That's not until next year's draft. This is very odd to me because you have Stroud, who was sacked a lot. He was sacked like 50 times a game, obviously an exaggeration. And you see that and you're like, well, better ship off our franchise tackle. I don't really get this, honestly, at all. I mean, I guess you free up the space to pay him, but what is your plan for offensive line? I really struggle to understand this from the Texans' perspective. From the Commanders' perspective, you're like, well, okay, we have tackle covered and we have a great young quarterback. I mean, the Commanders, they are just going all in. I mean, they know that they can seriously compete in the entire NFC. They can definitely compete for the division against the Eagles. So they're going out and getting the pieces they need. I respect it. I can't believe the Texans would do this for, I mean, I don't want to say seemingly no reason, because I guess you can make the argument for the money, but seemingly no reason. Another one, Dante Jackson to the Chargers. I watched him for a while in Carolina. He's how do I explain Dante Jackson? He tends to get banged up. He's very athletic, but he's not as fast as he used to be. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how well he was liked last year in Pittsburgh. I know for a fact, though, I saw him get burnt a couple times, so it's good to see him still doing what he was doing in Carolina. I did want to shout this out, though, because the Chargers did lose Fulton, their other cornerback, to the Chiefs, so this is a big signing for them because they did need a new corner. So while I might not be the biggest fan of Dante Jackson, the Chargers did need something, and he is a viable starter. So for what it's worth, nice signing, I guess. And then Charvarius Ward reached agreement on a 3-year deal worth $80 million. That says $60 million. I just can't read. $60 million, including $35 million guaranteed and $20 million signing bonus with the Colts. The Colts saw that they had an issue in their secondary, and they've done a really good job addressing it. Honestly, I think the Colts have had a very sneaky good free agency, especially defensively. They've signed Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum from the Vikings. Cam Bynum, pretty good player. I'm actually a fan of him. I'm a fan of the signing. Respect for the Colts, actually going out and doing that because I think sometimes they tend to kind of neglect those things. But again, I like those signings. They also signed Dale Jones. I don't have it on here, but they did sign Dale Jones for what it's worth. So backing up Anthony Richardson. But, I mean, that's going to be a quarterback job up in the air, to be honest. We'll see who takes the leap or who gets the step on the other in the starts. But, yeah, interesting stuff going down in there in Indianapolis. Cowboys actually did something. They did sign a 1-year deal with Javonte Williams. I mean, they need a running back, to be fair. I mean, I was going to hate on the Cowboys, but to be fair, they did need a running back. So if Javonte Williams can, get back to his, rookie year, I guess, self, I mean, he was very good. That ACL tear, though, really brutal and hasn't quite got his footing back from that. So this could be really good. I don't think it is. I think it is a solid signing because they needed it. But I did just want to throw that in there too because Javonte Williams is a good player. I do hope he can get back to being fully healthy. And then we have the Saints. They are re-signing Chase Young to a 3-year, $51 million deal. I'm not really sure how to feel about this. I mean, on the one hand, Chase Young, you know, he was great his rookie year, and then he gets injured for a while with that ACL tear. I really didn't think he was anything too special last year in New Orleans. I'm not sure if this was just because they really need a young defensive end with Cameron Hayward, not Cameron Hayward, I'm blanking now. Cam Jordan aging. And so maybe you just really wanted to lock down defensive end with a guy you believe in who's young. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I can't tell if this is too much money or if this will look really good if Chase Young can get back to being, you know, what he's capable of being. I don't really know. I think this is definitely a little risky because of how Chase has performed. But again, he's been banged up. So it's like, do we think, I guess that's the thought process there. I'm not really sure. Let me know down below, though, if you're a Saints fan, what you think of this. Because I feel like that money could have went elsewhere. But again, I suppose it is a team need. And then for the Chargers, reached agreement with former Steelers running back Najee Harris on a 1-year deal worth up to $9.25 million. Najee Harris, I think, is a good running back. I don't think he's much more than that. I think he's a good running back. But they're in LA. You know, they had a good running game last year. Dobbins was back and healthy. You had Gus Edwards at times. You drafted Kamani Vidal. So Najee Harris fits right in my opinion. Tough runner. I'm excited to see what they do with him. I'm not going to say he, like, goes off, but I think he will be very solid. I don't want to get on the bandwagon of, oh, he's not that good. I think he is pretty good. So I like the signing for them. Chargers are definitely building something over there. I think last year was a big step earlier than expected. Hopefully they continue to stay on that pace. I like this signing a lot. And then again for the Giants, they're giving Jevon Holland 3-year, $45.3 million deal worth up to $46.8 million, including $30.3 million guaranteed. Hopefully not just $30, or else he might be getting scammed on that contract. But Jevon Holland is a good safety, and once again, I like this for the Giants. You know, they went out, they got Paulson Adebo. I'm just going to say Adebo. It's probably Adebo, but so they signed him and Jevon Holland. They are definitely addressing that secondary. I like it a lot, honestly. I actually really wanted Carolina, who's obviously my favorite team, to sign Jevon Holland. They ended up signing Trayvon Merrick, who is not in this video, but, you know, shout out to him. I think it is a good signing. But Jevon Holland, though, I like this a lot. I wasn't sure where he was going to go. I saw one thing that was like he was wanting way too much money. I'm not sure how accurate that was, because I feel like this is like pretty solid for Jevon Holland, especially at a place like the Giants where it's not like a super highly anticipated spot to go right now. So yeah, I like this a lot. Good move for the Giants. And also the Chiefs safety Justin Reid reached an agreement today with the Saints on a 3-year, $31.5 million deal, including $22.25 million fully guaranteed. I wouldn't say this is a huge loss for Kansas City, but it is definitely a loss in their secondary. And again, the Saints are prioritizing defense. They re-signed Tyrann Mathieu. They go and they get Justin Reid. They re-signed Chase Young. So they have a vision. I'll give them that. I'm not sure if I totally agree because there's just a lot of holes in that team, but I suppose you do have to start somewhere. And Justin Reid is a solid player. So I'm not going to say it's a bad signing. I think this is pretty solid for them. That's going to do it for the video, though. So that's a lot of signings so far. Obviously, not all of them because there are a lot. I will be doing this video again probably the next week when more things go down. If you guys want to see more videos on certain teams whenever they get big players, we'll talk about kind of that offense, what might be happening, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, just whatever as far as, you know, players coming in, what to look for next season expectations for these teams. We're going to rank some players, rank some teams, a lot of tier list videos, mock drafts here soon. So thanks for watching. I do really appreciate it. Make sure to comment down below who your favorite team is and if you're happy with their free agency so far. Very early on, so again, still a lot of time left. Thanks for watching. I do really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.